Have you ever seen the Owl of Dragonspine? If you look directly at it, it seems to look right through you, while letting go of none of its own secrets.
This is Kaeya. And again, it's not child. I'm sorry. Okay, I can explain. All right, so look, I've been farming a ton of artifacts. If you guys have been paying attention to the posts, you probably know that I'm not very happy about it. Long story short, I got more than double of the Blizzard Strayer instead of the Heart of Depth, and child just isn't quite there yet. I just don't have the right artifact sets for him. I got crit damage. I don't want crit damage. Okay, I want crit rate on child, but we'll talk about that later. Anyways, okay, so Kaeya has been a long-term meme for the channel a little bit because just nobody wants to watch a video dedicated to him, but today we are going to change that. So Kaeya is one of those characters that is arguably a support and a DPS. Now I say arguably because I think most people are going to build him as a support, but he can work as a DPS. But again, that's just, we'll get into that. So let's go ahead and take a look at some talents here. So I did actually hear you guys talking about the level of the talents and stuff. I screwed up my math and I don't have enough to bring this up to level 4. I think I was going to have both of these at level 4. I accidentally put this one to level 6 and this one's at level 6 just because I'm bad at math sometimes. So our normal attack is called Ceremonial Blade Work. Performs up to 5 rapid strikes. Charge attack does the 2 quick strikes like most sword users do. And the plunging attack is just falling from the air, doing AoE damage as we hit the ground. Here you can see how it breaks down. Unfortunately, I think Kaeya suffers from that beginning unit type of stat breakdown. His numbers are very poor. Even at level 6 right here, you can see they're just underwhelming in a lot of ways, and I think that plays into how I would end up building him personally. But again, that's gonna be up to you. I personally would choose a support build, but anyways. Next we have our elemental skill, which is called Frostgnaw. Unleashes a frigid blast, dealing cryo damage to opponents in front of Kaeya. This is the infamous let's make a bridge move, and it is pretty nice. It instantly freezes anything that's affected with hydro, so it's pretty awesome. Here you can kind of see how that breaks down. The skill damage is actually extremely high, which I really like, and since it's straight up cryo damage, you can do some pretty nutty damage with it, so that's pretty nice. Next we have Glacial Waltz. Coalescing the frost in the air, Kaeya summons 3 icicles that revolve around him. These icicles will follow the character around and deal cryo damage to opponents in their path for the ability's duration. So this is one of the things that makes Kaeya one of the coolest supports to run, simply because you can pretty much just throw this on and you can just do like some nutty things with freezing or melting or stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Here you can kind of see how that breaks down with the damage, the cooldown, the duration. You can see it only costs 60 energy, so it's actually not as high as some of the other bursts that we've looked at recently, but it's pretty good. Next we have Cold-Blooded Strike. Every hit with Frostgnaw regenerates HP for Kaeya equal to 15% of his attack. So if you're looking for extra heals, just building him as a DPS kind of sets him up to heal himself but also do damage, which is nice. Then we have Glacial Heart. Opponents frozen by Frostgnaw will drop additional elemental particles. Frostgnaw may only produce a maximum of 2 additional particles per use. Extra energy, and that's cool. Kaeya's Ascension stat is actually energy recharge, so kind of another telltale sign that he's going to be a support, but extra energy is always great. And then Hidden Strength decreases sprinting stamina consumption for your own party by 20%. Of course, it's not stackable and cannot be provided with the exact same effects. As far as his Constellations, this is where he kind of open up, in my opinion. Especially, I love C1, and he's in the shop as of this recording, and I was going to buy him simply to get this extra 15% crit rate, but I know I'm not going to use Kaeya later, and I'm not going to do it just to show it off for the video, so I withheld myself. But at level 1, we have Excellent Blood. The crit rate of Kaeya's normal and charged attacks increases against opponents affected by cryo by 15%. That's cool. At level 2, every time Glacial Waltz defeats an opponent during its duration is increased by 2.5 seconds up to a maximum of 15 seconds. That's pretty nutty. I really like that. Being able to just have that on the field, that constant cryo damage, is pretty awesome. I think that's one of the coolest things, that it just opens up Kaeya in a lot of different ways. At level 3, we have Dance of Frost, which just increases Frost Null by 3 levels. That's great. At level 4, Frozen Kiss, which triggers automatically when Kaeya's HP falls below 20%. Creates a shield that absorbs damage equal to 30% of Kaeya's max HP and lasts for 20 seconds. This shield absorbs cryo damage with 250% efficiency and can only occur once every 60 seconds. Okay, I mean, that's fine. I'm not a huge fan of like shields in general, but yeah, okay. Frostbiting Embrace at level 5 just increases Glacial Waltz by 3. That's fine. Last but not least, we have Glacial Whirlwind, which Glacial Waltz will generate 1 additional Icicle and will regenerate 15 energy when cast. So that's pretty cool because that ends up meaning we only need 45 energy to fire off the ult, which is just, it's good. Okay, it's good. Now, when it comes to building Kaeya, like I've stated, I personally would prefer support builds. I think that's what most people are going to be leaning towards, so we're going to talk about that first and then we'll go into a couple of DPS options. But essentially you can build him either way. He can kind of function on both sides of the coin there. But first and foremost, let's go over some weapons for these support builds. Now, top choice would probably end up being the Sacrificial Sword as a support, simply to be able to fire off 2 of the Frost Nulls back to back at random chance. Whenever the Sacrificial Sword procs, it's pretty gnarly. I think that's really good. It also has energy recharge on it, which is amazing. It's just all around going to be great. Similarly, the Favonius Sword is also going to be really good in that vein. It's going to have energy recharge on it as well, and the special ability on it is it's just going to help you create a ton of energy particles, which is just going to get you a ton of energy. Next, we actually have the Festering Desire, which is the new one that come out of the 1.2 update, which is actually really nice. So it's going to have energy recharge on it again. Are you starting to see a theme here? Increases elemental skill damage by 16% and elemental skill crit rate by 6%. So that's actually really nice for Kaeya. Now, for the budget options, I would say Festering Desire is probably the best free-to-play weapon as a support, but for some more budget options in the 3-star realm, Skyrider Sword is going to do pretty good. Using an Elemental Burst grants a 12% increase in attack and movement speed for 15 seconds, has energy recharge, is going to do good. Cold Steel makes some sense here because enemies are going to be affected by cryo quite a bit, so it's going to increase the damage output. It's kind of like one of those weird pseudo options where I would use it until you could bump up into the like Festering Desire maybe, but it could work. And then last but not least, the Fillet Blade, especially, I mean, both the Cool Steel and the Fillet Blade make some sense because his healing will scale off of his attack, so maybe, but I feel like that's kind of like straddling the line of DPS and support. Now when it comes to artifacts, Kaeya, I mean, like most supports, you're going to be focusing a ton on getting, your burst off as often as possible. And the Exile set's going to help you do that at a 2-piece. That's going to be freaking amazing. And then pairing that with the Scholar set for an extra 40%. I know it sounds like overkill. I know. And it probably is if you already have it worked into your artifact substats at some point. But it still makes a ton of sense to just keep him going and keep his burst going as often as possible. Now, if you already have enough, or it feels like your energy recharge is too much, what you could end up doing is just going simply with the Noblest Oblige set. It's going to help increase elemental burst damage, and at a 4-piece, it's going to help you increase your attack for everybody else. That's perfectly fine. And then after that, of course, we need to talk about the new set, the Blizzard Strayer. Cryo damage plus 15%. That's actually pretty awesome. And then at a 4-piece, enemies affected by cryo, especially when you're getting off your burst, you're going to have your crit rate increased. Now at a 4-piece, it doesn't make a ton of sense as a support, but if you're straddling that line between like support and DPS, maybe that makes some more sense for you. Honestly though, I think what I would recommend is getting either a 2-piece of the Exile or a 2-piece of the Scholar, and then pairing that with whatever you're trying to do with Kaeya. If you want more elemental burst damage, go with Noblest Oblige. If you want more cryo damage overall, because your elemental skill may need it, you could go with Blizzard Strayer. With the Gambler set, it increases skill damage by 20% though. So you kind of gotta like figure out what your ultimate goal is with Kaeya and then kind of go that route as a support. Now, it doesn't matter which set you end up going with, just remember energy recharge is going to be huge. Like we said, we want to get that burst off as often as possible. Cryo damage is going to be crazy good, so keep that goblet reserved for a cryo goblet if you can. If not, you could make that up with the cryo set. altogether. And then crit rate, crit damage actually work pretty nice as a support here. And then don't forget the attack, because doing extra damage as a support is always good. Now, in terms of leveling up your talents, as a support, Glacial Waltz seems to be like the best one. Even if you don't have the higher constellations where you're gonna have 4 of these, the 3 icicles proccing and hitting almost 90% damage at level 3 every single time. If I had it, it'd go up to 97. The scale on this is actually pretty nice, and doing that over and over and over again to a mob of enemies helps out a ton. Then you can focus on Frost Null, of course, and then last but not least, even if you want to, you can focus on your normal attack. Now, as a DPS, here's where it's going to kind of get interesting. So, of course, top choice, Aquila Favonia. I mean, yes, it's not free to play friendly. I understand that. It's going to work. Okay, it's good. Second in line, also not very free to play friendly, the Black Sword. It's what I currently have. It's what we'll be showing off at the end of the video today, but generally that's going to be second in command. It has crit rate, which is great, and it's just overall pretty decent as a sword. Additionally, regenerates 60% of your attack as HP when you score a crit hit. That just kind of goes along with Kaeya already. Then we actually have the Harbinger of Dawn, which actually is pretty free to play friendly. So when HP is above 90%, increases your crit rate by 40%, and it has crit damage as its secondary stat. So that's pretty good. Could also use the flute. The flute will actually yield some pretty good results here. Normal and charge attacks does the harmonics thing, gaining 5 harmonics triggers, a powerful music damage, 100%, blah, blah, blah. It's good. But I do think probably one of the better free-to-play options, and I would honestly want to test which one would be better between the Harbinger of Dawn or Prototype Rancor. Now, the Rancor is actually going to be really, really good. It's craftable, it's amazing all around, but on hit, normal charge attacks increase attack and defense by 4% for 6 seconds, max 4 stacks. So it just ends up giving you a ton of damage, physical damage. Not really Kaeya's specialty, but it's definitely going to help output a ton of damage. And then last but not least, we do have 2 other free-to-play options. Cool Steel, which we talked a little bit about as a support, and Fillet Blade. We actually talked about that as well as a support, but both of those options do work well as DPS as well. Now, when it comes to your artifacts, this is going to be kind of a straight shot here. Either you want to go with a 4-piece of the Gladiator's Finale, simply just because you're a sword builder, you're going to get extra attack, and your normal attack damage is going to be increased by 35%. Or you can go with the new set, the Blizzard Strayer. Now, I personally have this set up. We can look at the Gladiator set if you guys really want to at a later date, but basically this is one that we're going to be looking at today. Plus 15, and when a character attacks an opponent affected by cryo, their crit rate is increased by 20%. If the opponent is frozen, crit rate is increased by an additional 20%. So basically 40% extra crit rate is crazy good. Plus you get 15% cryo damage bonus just for having it. So cryo damage bonus on here plus cryo damage bonus on here. It's great. Crit rate here or crit damage here, depending on which way you want to go. You still, even though you're hitting this, you still want to try to keep as close to the 1-to-2 ratio as you possibly can. But that's pretty much self-explanatory. Those 2 sets is kind of what you want to go with. No matter which set you end up going with, just remember, cryo damage can actually be super, super helpful here. If you're building him to do, massive crit numbers, of course, crit rate, crit damage, however you see that fit is going to be amazing. Cryo damage, though, don't forget about it, because most of his kit is centered around cryo damage in general. So don't forget about that. But if you are going for big crit numbers, just remember, Resonance with 2 cryo members on the team, this new Blizzard Strayer set, just everything that you can put into his kit to get that crit rate, closer to 100% is going to let you do massive amounts of damage. Or if you want to, you can kind of go both ways. You can try to push his crit rate to 100% to do, a consistent crit damage build, or you can push his crit damage really high because you'll have enough crit rate built everywhere else that you don't have to focus on crit rate very much. And then, of course, if you're going with, Prototype Rancor, if you're not really wanting to focus on cryo damage, physical damage, of course, is going to be really good. And last but not least, energy recharge, just because getting your burst off and burst doing a ton of damage is going to be helping with extra DPS. All right, Mr. Kaeya, it's time to go take a look at some stuff. I know this is going to kind of be cheating because we're in Dragon Spine, but it will just be easier because I need a couple things for the event, and freezing enemies over here is actually pretty easy. But let me show you what we're rocking really quick. So I told you we have the Black Sword crit rate. It's leveled up to level 70. It's pretty nice. Kaeya is only level 60, ascended to level 70. This is kind of where I feel like most people are going to shoot for, and then this is kind of going to be most free-to-play players like baseline of how, like, what they want to judge. 1100 attack, 787 defense. Kind of see 41% crit rate. Now I am running an elemental resonance with 2 cryo members, so that's where that comes from. Crit damage at 128, which is really gnarly. But yeah, so we're going to be looking to try to freeze enemies. That's why we have Child on the team, plus he's actually giving my talent 1 extra level, so I didn't have to spend so many resources. And we are running the full 4-piece of the Blizzard Strayer with a cryo damage cup. Now keep in mind, all of this stuff except for my flower, because I really don't care about the flower, is plus 16. The reason that we're doing plus 16 is, if you haven't watched Jinx and Tuner's video about going from 16 to 20, you will understand after you watch that video. Essentially, it's insanely expensive and I don't want to do it. All right, let's go fight some Fatuis over here. Oh, it's just the one. Oh, there he is. Okay. So we're just going to set up here. See some melt damage, which is nice. I'm going to throw this down just so that I can freeze, please. There we go. All right, so there you can see, if you see any numbers that are roughly, like, if they're not super close to 1,000, they're not crits, pretty much. Which is kind of nice. Now, the weird part is, you know, 1972, that's pretty good. I mean, for a level 60. Bruh, what are you doing? Get off me. Okay, so he's frozen. So here you can see 1201. I mean, that's pretty good. That's actually pretty nice damage. See Frost and all there, just shoots it out. Let's get this guy frozen, and we'll do some melts here. Yep. And we can fire off our burst, and you can see those 3 icicles. I really like his normal attack animation. Super cool. And yep, so let's look at the damage on almost 2,000 damage on that. That's pretty gnarly. Yeah, all right. Just gonna freeze this guy one more time. Let's shoot him down here. And we'll pop this. And let's see. I mean, you can see, like, how much damage that's doing. And when it crits, it's free damage. Like, it literally is just free damage. It's super nice. So that's pretty much Kaeya, guys. There's not like a ton to him. I do feel like he can, of course, like most characters, he can be built like a DPS. I do think that you're going to get more benefit out of building someone else as a DPS if all you're going for are the numbers. If you are trying to beat, you know, the Abyss, if your ultimate goal is to beat, you know, in-game content, then don't build Kaeya as a DPS. I think it would be a waste of your time. But if he is your husbando, if he is your boy, then there is nothing wrong with building him as a DPS. He can do it. There are just better choices. That's all I want to say. And I hope that doesn't completely ruin anybody's day, because it's going to be Christmas when this video comes out, and I don't want to ruin anybody's Christmas. But all right, guys, that's pretty much it. I don't really need to post another poll simply because Child is supposed to be next, but unless I can get those freaking artifacts, because I really want these artifacts to like show like, I don't know. We'll see. I may post a poll if I can't figure out what to do about Child. I may post a poll and just talk about, like, who you guys want to see while I'm farming artifacts. But anyways, that's going to be it, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of Kaeya. Have you built him? Do you care to build him? Honestly, you guys are, yeah, I'm not going to say it again. Anyways, Happy holidays. See you guys later. Major shout out to Cherry Blue, who is a YouTube member.